Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Top Agent Commercial Wednesdays. Very exciting as we should close out the fourth quarter strong for everyone. Hopefully everyone is keeping their pipeline full. Interest rates are going to continuously, hopefully, come down from the closing of this year to hopefully next year. And let's all pray for that. The government shutdown will end quickly for all of us so everyone can get paid, but also with the tariffs and everything else that is happening. But the one thing is, it's truly exciting because of all these opportunities. And this is why everyone comes to Top Agent Nation Commercial Wednesdays to learn what is going on for updates. What can you do to position yourself to allow you to adapt? And that is one of the biggest and most important thing, being adaptable as we keep seeing the AI revolution start changing the way we work. But it really is a global marketplace that everyone needs to plug in. And a little bit why you start seeing the renaissance, what we're hoping to do is helping people join from any firm, any service, any product to learn about everyone's business, to mentor from everyone's business, to get referrals from each other, whether it's residential to commercial, commercial to residential. I would say different services from cost seg, financial, capital markets, property management. Everyone's sending it around, sending referrals and leads, but also earning on the services some fees for non-RESPA services, as long as you don't have to be a broker dealer, a lawyer, or something else. It's really to earn more income as we have had before, trying to be a consultant, valuing your time. But the biggest thing from your time is your network. As we all know, our net worth is our network, and who we surround ourselves by around is really who we're going to be collectively. So this is what we're starting to share more and more at Top Agent Nation Commercial Wednesdays, is how to get more knowledge, how to send more referrals and leads, how to plug into services that within your network you could plug in and make some extra fees, consulting or speaking opportunities. So next, as you can see, with Scott Cook, a longtime friend, and Scott, to share kind of your background, because property management, as we know, it's not exciting, but it's definitely, I don't want to even say a necessary evil. It's just necessary, right? Because many people, once you scale past running the property yourself, and boy, I will never do that together. I think I put more paint on my shoes and my clothes than I did turning over my first apartment unit. It was terrible. My $50 or $100 shoes, it was all painted white because I could not paint the room, right, and turn it over. So we realized, as we started growing, you need property management, you need professionals, but there are some tips and tricks, because as you run your property, you kind of need to know what the costs are. And I would say the best brokers are usually property managers, if they're good at sales, but also running property management, because you know the numbers. Hey, Scott, I'll give you a chance. Don't you love performas from agents? Performers are great. I'm sure when property management looks at the numbers, they're shaking their heads. But Scott, if you don't mind kind of sharing your background, your journey into this business, and your topic for today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. Hey, everyone. I recognize lots of friends here, so good to see everyone. Yeah, as you say, your network certainly has to include a property management company. There's no question about it. But I'll start with my background. I've been doing real estate management, asset management for about 30 years now. I based primarily out of San Diego and Los Angeles, but we have clients that have assets all over the United States. And so we do asset management for them. There's kind of local property management and there's asset management, right, where you're managing the portfolios for the client. And then you're working with boots on the ground property management companies. You're working with boots on the ground brokers, because the client has your trust. And so they want your opinion. And, I've flown many times out to different states and cities and walked properties doing due diligence, just because the owner has the most confidence in us. And as you say, Jim, there's broker pro formas, and then there's property management budgets, we'll call them, because they're a little closer guesstimate. And so you'll find a lot of brokers don't want to take those pro formas to a property management company in front of an owner. That can be a dangerous business. But yeah, I've been doing this for about 30 years on the property management, asset management side. Also been a broker, multifamily. Sold other assets, primarily multifamily. Owned my own franchise brokerage for 12, 13 years. Kept the management alongside it because I tell you, doing the management with the brokerage is gold. I mean, I tell you, yeah, it really is. It really is to me such a great partnership. And you know, a lot of brokers and rightfully so don't want the liability of a management company because you know having hundreds of trust accounts and things like that can be a little unnerving at times. So that's where partnering with a property management company can you know benefit you without taking on that liability. You can still gain most of the benefits from that. I'm sure most of you have those property management relationships. If you don't, obviously go out and get them. I know when I had juniors, I always made sure that part of their major pitch was property management. You know, everybody's calling, you know, 100, 200 owners a week or whatever they can, talking to them about, you know, do you want to buy? Do you want to sell? Do you want, you know, same calls they get over and over and over. But if you can lead with property management, if you can lead with helping the client coming up with ways that the client is you know like for instance I used to go to a retail center. I was trying to get this property for brokerage and it had a Subway in it, and I would go to that shopping center and I would eat at that Subway, and I'd go out to the parking lot and I'd call that owner. I'd say, you know what, I'm just sitting in your parking lot. I got my Subway in hand. I love your shopping center. Just wanted to let you know you're missing a handicap sign at one of your entrances. And you know, that's a $750 fine. Just here to help you out. I hope you have a great day. I just wanted to point it out. Take a picture, send it to them. That's it. Right? But they're going to call me. Now you have to make sure you're not telling on the management company because that's where you kind of get in trouble, right? And I did have an experience early on where I did something like that a little bit colder, and it happened to be that the daughter was the manager of the owner. So that didn't go so well. So you got to tread carefully on how you do it. But I've always found that management is a great lead in to brokerage. And so I think, you know, and obviously having a property management company in your network is a must. So having two or three of the management companies in town, because you always want to give a client a couple choices, right? These are people that I believe in, and let them make the choice. You never want it to come back where they blame you for something that happened. But I'll run through a deck real quick. Just some of the reasons that agents and brokers should be, and this is residential as well as commercial. I know this is the commercial forum, but you know it works for everybody that's out there doing real estate. Really, it works for everybody. I mean, I used to network with insurance people. I used to work with capital markets people, right? It's all the networking together. And management companies, you know, it used to be that we were kind of I don't say stepchild, but you know, we were kind of the profession people went to when you couldn't sell a bunch of commercial real estate. But now, you know, with IRM and so many of these organizations, I mean, we're pros. We know what we're doing, and we really bring the value day to day to these properties. You can sell it and you can bring the property in and hand it to a management company. But if they can't improve it to what your pro forma said it was going to do, right? And you can't get the leasing agents to achieve the rents that you said it was going to achieve, you'll never get another deal from that owner because you didn't, you know, it didn't live up to the numbers. So I'll run through some of these,
And
and
Scott, while
just
while you're setting it up, and
yeah,
this is why with the property management, because they have so many services and so many connections and referrals, some of them, let's say with property casualty, construction development, right? Commercial, I mean, property management deals with all of it, residential and commercial. And I consider residential portfolio non-owner occupied, right? Commercial, right? If you're living it, you manage to handle yourself. But some people actually outsource and use property management for the construction development, for turnover, for maybe contract work and other things. And a lot of people, when they leave, this is the best during the last cycle, the residential investment properties per square foot were worth more than the commercial, right? Because we know residential rise faster per square feet. They just don't cash flow. You could exchange these properties into multifamily. And boy, we were cash flowing some of these because they owned it free and clear, all this equity. But Scott, property management, and this is where you're going to share, but plugging in is to build your network, or some people, if you don't mind, like what you did at SVN, have a property management company with you. And we hope, you know, learning from you, Scott, people can create their own company, learn pitfalls, or build that referral network. Because for when I was at Marcus, I always had a property management company I worked with in multifamily. And it also gave you a lot of leads once they realize you sent them a lot of referrals too, right? It goes back and forth. So very important.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. All right, so I'll just dive into this. Obviously the first one is always referral income, right? I mean, agents always want the referral income, which is important. Usually it's a month to 2 months of management fee. I would say it's one of the least important reasons that you're going to partner up with a management company. It's great to get that one off, but I can't tell you how many times an agent would refer it into us and we'd never hear from them again, or they would follow up with the owner once, maybe twice, probably right before the mortgage is coming due, right? Maybe 6 months out, and they got it flagged that way. So obviously the referral income is important, and you want to talk about that with whoever you're going to partner with as a management company to make sure you get that month, 2 months management fee, or whatever deal you're going to work out with them. I would say a lot of brokers, you got to be careful about working with management companies that also do sales. And I did sales with my brokerage and management. And I was always honest. I would get referrals from other brokers, even though I own my SVN office. And now I'm with EXP, but I would always honestly make sure they got that referral back, because that's the way I'm going to get referrals as the management company, right? You're wearing a couple different hats, and so you got to be honest with everybody that you're working with on all sides. So I would say on the referral income, that's important, but it's almost the least important when it comes down to doing dollars in the future. This is like it says in number two, it just keeps you out of the day-to-day headaches by hiring a management company. You want to stay involved, and I'll talk about that a little bit. You don't just want to refer the property in and then walk away. What I used to do is I used to have meetings with the management company, usually around August, and we would go through the budget for the next year together. Because again, I'm trying to sell the thing in 5 or 7 years, right? So I would meet with them, talk about what capital improvements they see for the next year, what things we're going to put in the budget. We'd sit down, we'd literally go through every tenant on a commercial space, even multifamily. You go through the tenants, who's month to month, right? What's the difference between market rate and what people are paying? And I would work with them to come up with the budget, and obviously it gets presented to the owner and the owner approves it. But the management company, sometimes life is easiest if you just keep everything going, right? If you push things too much, it creates a lot of work, a lot of things you've got to do. You don't want to upset the owner by asking for things. But there's different goals here, and not saying as the broker your goal is to sell the property primarily. Your goal is to get the asset in a position where the owner can make that decision to either equity out and purchase more, or to exchange it, or whatever they're going to do. So as a wealth advisor, as a real estate advisor, not just a sales broker, but we're here to advise and work with our clients on these assets throughout its lifespan and their portfolio throughout their lifespan. So that's what I would do as far as staying focused on sales, but staying involved in that property. And so I would do that on every single property that I would bring in, and I would encourage my brokers to do it on my management company as well. Let's sit down and talk about this. Let's look at the goals. If the goal of the owner was to sell this in 5 or 7 years, are we staying on track with that goal? We're halfway through this thing. The loan's going to be, coming up here in a few years. The owner is going to have to make a decision. Where are we at? Are we achieving the rents? Have the rents gone up? Have the rents gone down? And so working with that management company, and you want to work with a management company that's okay with that, right? If a management company just wants you to drop it off and then leave them alone, that's not the management company you want to work with, right? Because they also want to do a good job on this property, so that when you go to sell it or the owner does something else with it, that the buyer will see that the management company did a good job and hopefully retain them, right? Because we all know on a sale, it's two ways. The broker is going to be happy to be working with the owner on a sale, but the management company potentially is losing a client. So they're less happy. I think we've all seen this through due diligence, right? Management companies bringing keys to the property, doing all the due diligence work. It's not their happiest day. It's a lot of extra work. And they're losing the client. So if they can do a good job and the broker can work with them to do a good job, they're more likely to impress the buyer and retain that account. Let's see, keeping the clients long term. Obviously, you want to stay with, as I said, you want to stay with this property. You don't just want to refer it off and then leave. Stay involved, even to a degree of quarterly. What I used to also do is I would make sure that the management company in their management packet would include my, I won't name the companies, but the companies where I ran my analytics from and have it included in the packet, right? Because we can all send clients market data and they may open it, they may not, right? Not just because they're busy, not because they don't want to, but they just receive a lot of data. But if my packet, say leasing, if I'm doing leasing and I send them the leasing trends, what's the absorption, what are the TI costs going for, things like that. If I can send them those reports that have my picture, my contact info, and they put it in their monthly packet, that's almost 100% going to get seen by that client because it's going to go up. Well, it used to be in the old days, it was check. Now, of course, it's ACH, but it's the operating reports and then your report and then the financial reports. And so your packet is going to get seen pretty much every single month by that client. And so having all of those assets that you can with a management company that you know will help you improve them, retain them, and get that sale back to you and not sell it or move it out to somebody else, work with you on the asset over the life of the asset with them, and then obviously be good stewards when it comes to due diligence. Those things are what is really going to pay off long term in this relationship and partnering up with the property management company. So that's just one trick I always did. And I would just give it as a hint because an owner will see your reports. Even if they just look at it real quick and move it on, at least they've seen it, right? You stay top of mind. So obviously turn unsold listings into income. You don't just want the listing to expire and then it's the owner keeps it and moves on. Well, what's the reason it didn't sell? If it's something that could be improved or over the next few years, be improved in such a way, whether it's rent or the physical asset or whatever it would be, then, let's work on that. And then it'll become income later when, it gets to where the owner can sell it at what they want to. So it's again, it's not just a dropping off or, well, my listings expire, this doesn't work. Well, let's work with it. Either work with the existing management company that has it and see if you can work with them to get the asset to where it needs to be for the client. Or if that management company is one of the reasons it's not selling, then maybe talk to the owner, talk to them about an existing relationship you have with the management company. If it's the right fit, then move the property to that management company and work together as a team to get the asset where it needs to be to sell it. And that's future income. And we all know this is all pipeline stuff, right? I mean, it takes a while to make that happen. So let's see, increase repeat business. Yeah, I mean, owners that trust you obviously are going to look at it, I got some writing on my screen. Anyway, owners that trust you are going to be more likely to keep using you because you've got a solid team around you. Remember, they're also out there farming and trying to receive clients as well. And so they're going to be able to refer back to you. If you're a broker that refers to them, they're going to do the same thing back to you. We all need those relationships. They need a broker that is going to help promote them, that is going to help them. I mean, a lot of times on the management side, if we're trying to get a roof approved and the owner doesn't want to do it, and there's a lot of good reasons the owner wouldn't want to, but it's just leaking, it's costing a lot, it really needs to be replaced. Sometimes bringing the broker in, talking with the broker and saying, look, we need to get this done because your plan is in a few years to help the owner sell this asset. Well, together you can talk to that owner, and sometimes the owner now has the trust of both sides, right? And they're like, well, my broker says it, the management company says it. Let's figure out a way to pay for it. Maybe you impound for the next 24 months, so it's not some big hit, right? Or maybe then you bring in your CPA and you talk about how you're going to do it on the CapEx expense. Bring in the team to solve these problems, and then everybody will do well in the end. Obviously, the most important person we need to do well for is our client. And so through having that team approach on the management side, and again, obviously I'm a big proponent of on the managers. I'm always sticking up for our property managers. But we're the hub. And there's all these spokes, and all the spokes are everybody we work with, brokers, the lenders, the general contractors, and we touch all of them, just like you do, but we do in a different way. Um, Grow your client database. A lot of times you're going to be able to work with these property management companies because they need a broker's opinion of value for their client. And so work with them on things and on things that they need and become a trusted resource for them. And they may, you're going to get to learn some of their clients naturally when you're helping them, with their business. So become a resource to them. It's not, as we all know, and everybody on this call I see, it's not all about the money. It's about helping others. And if you help others, then the money will just naturally come. So I think if you can grow your database through the management company, they will introduce you to their owners because they need help. I mean, there may be a property that the say a retail center is just not getting leased up, and the management company wants to get it leased because remember, the management company makes money usually as a percentage. And so if there's a lot of vacant space, they're losing money or potentially not gaining as much money on their fees as they could. So they have an incentive to make sure those spaces get leased to good tenants as much as the owner does. So, becoming a resource that way, those management companies may talk to the owner and say, hey, I know a good leasing broker. They've given me really good advice. They could give you some idea of, the local rents. They could walk the property and give you an idea. Now, again, I'm not suggesting you do anything behind anyone's back. If it's leased by a certain company, you never want to, obviously never, this isn't a sneaky move. It's more of a move to give an owner another opinion. And you just never know. It's a good way to gain business because again, it may be that the broker that has it is way too far away and they can't get over there to do the tours. I mean, I used to get a referral fee from brokers because they didn't want to go open up the space. But I went to the center once or twice a week. And so I was happy to open the door for them because one, it helped the management company get it leased up for the client, raised our management fees, made the client happy ultimately. And then I had that relationship with the broker. So a lot of times you can have management companies that can assist you on those things, especially if you have a property that's far away and they're willing to do it. Strength of your reputation, of course, being able to say that you've got a strong team. When you're talking to an owner in the initial stages and you're presenting your pro forma and the possibilities, having a management company that can also back up your rent numbers, I mean, that's going to give the real strength and make your reputation with that client solid is when you can say, well, let me also bring in this management company and here's the rents they've been able to achieve on some properties right around in this area. And now you're getting it from a management company. One, you're introducing them to the management company and they'll be happy, but you're getting real world numbers. And that management company can say, yes, we are getting, $2,300 a month for this apartment, or we are getting 260 a square foot in rent, or whatever it is. And so that will help. And that owner is going to see that you have a team. It's going to back up your numbers. And then obviously it's going to strengthen your reputation, which will help you stand out from your competitors because many brokers, as we all know, are just very tunnel visioned. I mean, do you want to buy? Do you want to sell? Here's what I think you can do. Let's get it listed on the market. Let's negotiate it and get it sold. But again, for real estate advisors, and the sales are second and the commission is second and third down the line in importance. If we're advisors, these clients, as we all know, move the properties, sell the properties, exchange into other ones. We become advisors to them and help them grow their portfolio. And if we can help them grow their portfolios, then obviously we do better, the management companies do better. And as they buy in other markets, then again, you're going to be, an advisor to them in those markets as well, as long as, of course, you stick with the correct license laws. Handle complex issues. This is where, again, bring in your management companies. You may have your own contractors and people like that, but so management companies have a deep bench of electricians and contractors and roofers. They deal with people all day long. And so when you're trying to get quotes, they're going to be another good resource. So if you have a good relationship with them, if you've brought them properties if they've given you referrals and you start to have this real solid relationship as a team with this management company, the issues that you're going to be able to solve with their assistance is unlimited, because they're going to have so many other resources that you don't have, or maybe your contractor is busy and you need another contractor. So they're going to have all of that, and that's going to help make your life a lot easier, and be have a better service for the client too. Leverage your local market expertise. Again, this goes back to working with the management company. I know a lot of brokers want to come up with their numbers, and that's fine. And again, I say this as a property manager. I'm also a broker. But you know, don't just pull the comps from maybe one software, one database, and count on that. I mean, obviously calling around, getting your own comps and doing your own legwork that way is important. But you can bring in a management company and they can speak to all of this without you having to do a lot of it, right? So they're going to have all of these things. They're going to have what the actual vacancy rate is, what turnover costs are going for in that area, especially if you're dealing with, say, a sister city down the road that you're not primary in, but you want to help this client. Well, you can do that if you have a management company boots on the ground there, because they're going to have so much of this data and help. And again, for junior brokers, having this relationship is going to take a lot of the stress off them. I mean, I know in the beginning when I started with management, so I had a little bit of an advantage, but on the brokerage side, you've got to come up with all of these numbers to put together this plan for the sale. And, a lot of times they're scrambling to come up with the numbers, and they're pulling numbers that, they're just trying to get them down on a sheet. Well, if they can work with the property management company, that management company is going to say, well, here's the rental range, here's the turnover cost, here's the vacancy, here's what pet rent is going for here. I mean, they're going to be able to give so much of that data that the broker is going to be able to reference back to the client and have a legitimate source to reference back to, and that's going to give a lot of confidence to the client when they're working with you. Obviously, protecting the client investments, and this is day to day. And this is why I say brokers need to stay involved with their management companies, at least quarterly. More than that, management company might feel a little watched, but at least quarterly, check in with the property manager and just shoot an email off and say, how's the property going? How's vacancy going? Or, whatever challenges the property came up with, or whatever goals or plans the property had through its cycle, check in on how those things are going, not just at budget time, but if there was a spike in vacancy, or certainly if there was a high vacancy when it went to the management company, staying up to date on that every couple weeks even, and just saying, hey, did you get, what units got leased? What did he get leased for? You had to do a turnover. What did that turnover cost? Because all of those are great reasons and legitimate reasons to reach out to your client, right? And if your client knows you didn't just get your commission and they'll see you again in 5 years, but they're getting emails. Hey, I spoke with the management company. I see that of the 13 units, we got these rented. Or of that retail space, I see we did get that lease deal done if you didn't do it. The lease deal done, and got a 5-year at this rate. This is really great. This keeps us on track for our goal, right? And that's what whatever that goal is, whether it is a refi, take the equity, buy more, or sell, whatever that goal is for the property, that's what you're always working on and updating the client. And the clients are going to love and appreciate that. Those of us that own assets like that, especially if it's not, in your backyard, those are the things those clients really care about. And after all of the maybe after sale work is done and everything is kind of smoothly going, at least every 6 months, at least check in with that property manager, ask how things are going, give me something new that's going on, right? Well, we switched elevator companies, or we put in new laundry machines, or we're bidding out new laundry machines, in the community. All of those things are great reasons to call your client. because then it's going to be, oh, you put in, okay, well, how much does it cost? Or it's a lease. Okay, well, and then you're really always updating your pro forma. And so after you talk to the property management company, okay, we're going to put in a new roof. It's going to be 60,000 for this. Well, you put it into your pro forma, right? And so now you've updated it. It's got a 10-year warranty, 20-year warranty, all of those things. You keep taking the information from the management company and updating it with your own information. And by the time it comes up to talk to the owner about selling, it's basically built out. And so I think that's one of the best ways to work with the management companies and the clients day to day. Obviously, also walking the property. This isn't all just phone. So, having a good relationship with these management companies is going to make them very um, happy to have you walk the assets with them, right? If you're just a broker they hear from once a year, they're going to be like, okay. And mostly they're going to be worried you're selling the property, right? Oh, the broker wants to walk the property. That's not always good news for a management company. But if you're just there and they know that you're there on behalf of the owner and you're just, you're checking up on the property and making sure it's following its plan, everybody's going to appreciate that. And so, walking units, say a unit, they started turning over units and they did a whole new makeover, right? New cabinets, new flooring. This is the new package when the unit gets turned over. Go walk that. If the property manager says, yeah, we just redid and remodeled the entire unit. This is what our new packages are going to look like. Our rents are going up, 125 a month because of it. Go walk that unit with them. If a laundry room just got redone, go walk it. Take pictures. Again, great reasons to talk to an owner. And even if even if the property, and I think this comes up later, but even if the property doesn't get sold and the property goes with a good management company, either one or the management company existing is good, that eventually again will pay off for you in that you're going to have that relationship and you're going to have reasons to contact that owner, even though the owner has no interest in selling. I love the asset, it's cash flowing fine. I've had it forever. I'm just fine with it. Okay, that's great. Like if that's the best choice for the client, then that's the best choice. But it does give you good reasons to contact that potential client and talk to them other than just do you want to buy or sell. So again, a new laundry room, new roofs, new remodels, new rent levels achieved is huge. So things like that, I think if you can stay in touch and have legitimate reasons to call. Obviously, boost property values. This is why we do it when we set up our pro formas. What's the goal of the property? What's the goal of the owner? And getting the property value where it needs to be. Especially, sometimes they come in with code compliance issues, right? I mean, sometimes there are problems. They're heavy, I mean, there could be any number of physical issues with the property. And so making sure those things are done right. Also impounding. A lot of times we would impound monthly, and on the balance sheet, we would just break out under the assets, we would break out separate impound. So we're going to paint the building in 3 years, 6 months before it gets sold, or 4 months before it gets sold, right? So let's start saving now. And so you'll see that, you'll have, I mean, obviously parking lot, paint, roofs, any CapEx stuff that may happen can be impounded. And again, you want to stay on top of that as much as the client will allow you to. But if the client gives permission, and I always had that relationship with my clients that they were fine with it, getting copies of the financials if the client was good with it, right? Let's make sure what does the balance sheet look like? How much do we have saved up for the roof? You also don't want to oversave. If the management company wants to save too much, well, you're also looking out for your client. Okay, well, we need to set this much aside. We need to get this done in this period of time. This goes back to the annual budget and then also achieving your long-term goals and being your client's real estate advisor and helping with this. Obviously, the decision is always the client's and the management company is the expert. So you never want to get in there and step on toes, but you're also trying to achieve a goal for the owner. And so that's where you need to be in there. pipeline for future sales, of course. You know, doing a good job for the clients will, you know, get you future sales, will get you other properties that they purchase. They may have other assets that they have no interest in selling, but they find, you know, if you brought them a good management company, you're gonna be their favorite because that they're gonna be able to turn that around, improve the cash flow, have a much better property. Well, you know, a lot of times once that happens, the owner goes, wow, you know, after we did all of that work the last few years, it really is worth this much, right? Because that's the other thing you're doing is every 6 months or at least once a year, you're giving the owner a new value based on everything you've learned all year. You know, your rents have gone up, and so you know now here's the new value of your property. We did these capex things. I think you can sell it for more because it looks better. So every 6 months, at least every year, but a lot of times owners are fine with it every 6 months because they're also interested too, especially if they're syndicators, right? If they're syndicators, they really need to know how is that property performing? What can I sell it for now? And are we on track to sell it for what, you know, I had projected for my investors as well? Um, Tenants buy and sell. You know, the only thing I will say about the tenants that did happen to me a couple times was that in a retail center, we took really good care of the tenants as from the management company side, right? Because they're our clients too. They're not our ultimate client, but they are clients in that we want to take care of them and make them happy, have their sales going well so that they renew. And you know, a lot of them need bigger space, right? So if you're the leasing agent on that property and that tenant, you know, is happy with the management company and everything else, but they just need a bigger space. Well, the management company may say, "Oh, we hate to lose you, but you know, we work, you know, here's a really good broker if you need to find another space." So really good way with this management company because a lot of them don't do sales and leasing. And so if they're going to lose the client or you know, they're going to refer it out, they want to give it to somebody they trust as well because they probably worked with this tenant for a long time and they want them taken care of. And then you're also somebody they trust on the infill of it, right? If you have the leasing of that center, they get to work with you and they know that you know you're gonna handle that part of the transaction very well. Obviously save clients time and stress. That's a no-brainer. That's what management companies should do on a basic level. Professional compliance support. Again, you know, this is another area where you can lean on your management companies, especially, you know, here in Southern California, we have a lot of rent control. And that can go not neighborhood by neighborhood, but certainly region by region. There's different rent controls and different programs, and you know brokers trying to handle that and tell a client that you know this is what it is. Well, that's fine. Obviously, you have to do your own homework and you have to make sure that what you're telling the client is correct as far as, you know, the rent caps and set asides and things like that. But that management company is going to be able to help you with so much of that. And a lot of times these management companies have somebody that is a specialty in that type of housing. And that person a lot of times is certified, especially in the bigger properties. So when it comes to multifamily in certain areas, lean on them. I mean, they have the experts. They're the ones that deal with the programs all the time. They may have direct lines to the program coordinators and the government, right? And the city offices and things like that. Well, if they can get you directly to somebody's desk, that's going to save you a lot of time and a lot of hassle being pushed off because obviously those people are very busy too. This is expand into commercial deals. You know, this obviously would be for more residential, which I know this is a commercial call, but certainly on the residential side, having that, if you've got people that you work with, other juniors that you're training and helping, and they're in residential, having that management company is going to give so much confidence to them in working with commercial tenants, right? I mean, commercial owners, because they're going to have this management company with all these resources that they can feel that they've got some backing, not just the mentor side of, you know, you can help me with the transactions and things like that, but day to day, and they'll also help them learn commercial. Big difference between residential and commercial, as we know. And so, you know, if they get in tight with the management company and the management company is you know good with them walking properties, I'd have young brokers new to the business brokers walk properties with me and just ask me, how do I do my inspections? What do I look for? Because they know those items on the management side are what's really going to give them that lead into that owner. It's just so much easier to use property management to talk to these owners because that day to day is what they're concerned about, right? Liabilities, things that can be improved. You know, if management companies a lot of times know about rebates and programs, things like that. If you can talk to owners about that, that's what's gonna help that owner. And by helping the owner, eventually you'll become their resource and I would think the sale. Word of mouth referrals, obviously. Yeah, you're gonna get referrals. If you give them, they'll send them back to you. They're out there farming for new business too. Hey Keith, sorry I didn't see your hand.
I just raised it, Scott.
Oh, just for the
I
heck
was
of it.
just gonna ask you, will you pause and take a breath?
Oh, I know I'm going, right? I know. I'm sorry. Am I running out of time? How am I doing on time? Look, I don't have much time.
No,
I'm
you're fine,
almost done.
but maybe take a pause. Keith or April or everyone, Mike, anyone that may have a question to give them a little time to answer some of it, and then we can kind of keep going. Well, if there's no questions, Scott, I guess oh, April?
I don't, I, um, so several times, Scott, you used the word impounds, and everyone on the call isn't as experienced. So can you elaborate or just give a definition to what impounds are?
Oh, sure. Yeah. And I'm going to go slower. See, Keith, see how I downed my pace a little bit? So you see, I work with James. I mean, and you know, you got to keep up. So I think I start to mimic his pace. It's his fault. Yes. So on impounds, it's basically just a savings account. It's just saving for future events. And so, you know, almost always you're impounding for property taxes, insurance. Those are pretty standard unless the owner pays them himself. But when you start talking about CapEx work, and you know, like on the homeowner association side, we have to do reserve studies, right? And so you get physical reserve studies, and they'll tell you how long the estimated life of that component is. Well, I always think it's a good idea to have that idea as a management company. How long does this elevator, you know, the mechanics of it, what's the estimated life of it? If it's 6 years, and that's a big ticket item. I mean, those coolers on top of office buildings, for instance, you know, $150,000. Well, that's not a call you want to make to an owner and say, you know, hey, I need to write a check. No, much better over 5 years if you've got an estimated life to save up 20, 30,000 a year, right? That's something that the property can usually stomach, with the goal of, again, that estimated life. And if it dies at 70%, at least you still got 70% of it saved up. So the impounds are saving for those future occurrences, those capital items for the most part. And that's important to us as brokers because it's easier for us to have those items done right prior to sale if the money is sitting there. It's a lot harder for us to say to an owner, well, down the street they got, you know, well, here, 400 a unit, you know, but the units looked like this, or, you know, the property looked like this. Your property doesn't look like that. You're looking at 370 a unit. Well, that's obviously a big difference when you're talking about a lot of units, and that may not be what they want to hear. But if the money over time has been saved up, and again, that's why meeting with these property managers at budget time, or at least getting a copy of the budget, even at the very least, if the owner is okay with it, getting a copy of that budget for the next year, you can plug it into your numbers and you can see how it's matching up with the goals that owner has for the property long term. Is it on track? Is it not on track? If it's not on track, let's revisit what we need to do to get it to where that owner needs it. Now, if it's something that outside that can't be done, you know, a factory closes or something, well, that's just is what it is, and we need to adjust it. And as real estate advisors, we go back to the client and we talk to them and go, look, here's some of the things that have happened. You know, we're having to give move-in specials, you know, all of those things affect, you know, the effective rent and things like that. So anyway, so thank you, April. Appreciate that. But yeah,
One more
that's pretty
question.
much
We
all it
got
is,
a
the
question
savings
from
accounts.
Masters.
Say again?
Masters has a question.
Oh, hey, Masters.
How you doing, Scott?
Good.
The property management company that you have that you work with, do they manage just one property type or all types?
in San Diego, we do everything from homes to all types of commercial. In Los Angeles, primarily just commercial and only multifamily of a certain size. And the reason is it's so big, right? Like we can't get to a house way 2 hours away when you're talking about traffic. You can't if you're showing a house at 5:30, you might not get home till 10 o'clock. Plus you got to leave the office at 3 just to get there at 5:30. So depending on where you're at, but yeah, we here personally, that's what we do. San Diego, everything, LA, commercial. But for you in your area, where are you at, Master?
I'm in Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay. Well, what you do is you just go, even if you find a really good management company, but all they do is retail centers, right? They super specialize one product type, then just go and get management companies that do the other product type. You can work with 3 or 4 management companies and you really want to work with several anyway, because when you want to have 2 or 3, there's a there's a pinnacle of management companies and there's a large iceberg under the water of not, right? I mean, management companies, we have a reputation, and I think a lot of things, it's because, not everybody does the right thing. But find the ones that do the right thing, do a good job, will allow you to be a part of the process. That's the big part for you as a broker is, being okay with you sending an email and saying, hey, what's the rent level going for? Can you send me a rent roll? Assuming the client is given this permission, obviously. Getting a rent roll every 6 months and updating your pro forma and updating the value of the property for the owner, it's going to take the property manager 1 minute to send it to you. It's going to take you at that point 5 minutes to update the numbers and hit the button and have the new value, and then send it to the owner and have a conversation the next day. What a great way to have a conversation with an owner. Now, look, a lot of people don't want to make the hard phone call. And I think that's where some of us in property management, we get a little tougher, thick skin, because most of our calls aren't, hey, everything's beautiful. It's usually, this broke and, it's going to cost this much, but I'm just letting you know. But if something is happening that reduced the rents in that area for some reason, or something happened, you still got to make the call, right? I mean, you're an advisor one way or the other. And so whether something good happened or something didn't happen, I mean, as a broker, probably a lot of us have had this. I had a property that was in escrow. One of the 3 multifamily buildings burned down. Well, I got to get on the phone. I mean, what am I going to do? I mean, obviously, probably not going to get sold right away, but you know what? But what it means is, well, you start working with the owner, you start working with the lender and the insurance company, and you get in there and you help. You don't get in the way. You're not the expert. You don't get out of your zone, but you definitely help and let them know that you're not just, there for the sale. And then obviously in 2 or 3 years, once the thing gets rebuilt and the rents go up, all good stuff. So,
All right.
go ahead.
I said, thank you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, just start basically interviewing management companies in your area, and find ones that work in the property types that you have. And then they're also really a good source of information and reason for you to call owners, sale or not. I mean, they need a referral partner like you. And if they can give you trends of things that they're seeing, they're going to see industry news. We use IREM and NAR as well, and different organizations we're all part of. And they're gonna have things that are going to give you reasons to be able to call. There may be I mean, there's always new legislation, right? Those of us that are in the legislative part and stay up to date on that, especially in California, we have a lot of things that get proposed, and so it's always good to find out from them, from the management companies, what things may be coming down the pipeline, especially if it's rent caps, things are being proposed for different occupancy standards. You can get all of that stuff from working with the management company. Take the director out to coffee and just talk to them about a lot of the stuff that's happening in the industry. You're going to get a wealth of information that you can call the owner and say, hey, I had this conversation and all this stuff. That's a reason an owner will talk to you. not just buy or sell, real legitimate reasons to talk to the owner and let them know that you're immersed in real estate and knowing what's going on all around. And that's what's going to be important. Passive income, again, referral fees are great, but making sure, I'm not trying to brush over it, always get your referral fees, but it really is them doing the job for the client first and doing the job with you so that you can get that property sold later or whatever the goal is. The owner may never sell it, but you still brought the client in, right? You still got commission on the buy side. And so you still want to know that you did a good job for your client, right? It makes you happy if the client never even sold it again, that they had a great investment that you helped them purchase and they're super happy with it. Like, that's awesome. You don't make any more money out of that transaction or that property. That's okay. You did a good job, and sometimes having a happy feeling is just as good. Trusted advisor, obviously. And then, support investors at scale. This is another one, because if you have a solid management company, you're going to be able to take your brokerage to different levels. If somebody has always brokered, 5 to 10 unit buildings, and then they get an opportunity, somebody's got a 75 unit building, and you've not brokered anything like that. One, obviously get support and expertise, because you've got to be able to handle it correctly. But a management company that can manage 75 units and has done a good job is going to be just amazing for you and help that individual take on that type of a brokerage. Obviously, you need to get a mentor or somebody that's worked at that scale. You can't not do that. You can't come out of only doing 7 unit buildings and then sell a 100 unit building on your own. I would never advise that. Get somebody like Keith or April, or North Carolina. So I think that's the other thing too, is the scale of it. Having a solid management company is going to help you with those other areas that you want to grow to, because you can lean on them. And then, bulletproof your business, I guess. That's just mostly just making sure you take care of the client and the property through staying on top of it. And that's why I keep stressing. And then I'll just make a little pitch here at the end. We're building property management partners nationally to be able to refer. And so if anybody has management companies, as you're out there and you come across the management companies that you've had good experience with, let me know. Send me an email. My email's there at the bottom. Send me an email and let me know who they are. Make an introduction if you would, just because we run a property management referral network, and I want to be able to refer clients to good management companies, boots on the ground. And we prefer to do that through referrals from, advisors that have had good experiences. I don't just want to call them up. I want to get, good referrals to these management companies. And it's only going to benefit you because they'll know it came through you. And hopefully that business will stick back around. So I guess that's my speed talk. I appreciate you worried about my health, Keith. See, I can stay up. I was going to hyperventilate. You were worried I was going to go down, huh? So that's what I've got. I think that's kind of what I've got. But if there's questions, obviously I want to help answer. But I think management's great. Obviously, I think it's the best way.
Thank you so much for that presentation. We always know property management's not always the sexiest business. I actually owned a property management. I got out of there as quick as possible to let my partners run the property management, but it did make me a better broker. It did allow me to understand the other side, the performer, the actual way of running a property. So they knew from an owner's perspective, from a broker's perspective, a management perspective, I kind of had all of them. So I could look at something and know this is good, this is bad, this is not right. But it is important, like in anything, you almost have to go through that experience to learn it. So I do encourage everyone to plug in, to reach out to Scott if you know any good property management in your local markets, to put into our referral. We actually want to put a pretty high bar that we know if we refer business out. And I'll just say from a personal experience, when you work with other referral chains, you have to make sure they're vetted too, because it is your reputation. So what we want to do is high quality not just, as Scott said, the referral fee, which is great, but it's the consistent business because you want to make sure the property management is aligned with you. They refer with you or not. Sometimes if they just do a great job, because you do need a property management, and many owners don't always run their own until they get economies of scale. So it is very important, and it's good to get property management's update. Wow, that's great. Update on just underwriting deals. So Scott, thank you again. And thank you everyone for joining us on Top Agent Nation Commercial Wednesdays. Join us and join this network group because we hope to set in more programs with the team to send more referrals, leads, opportunities within this group. So again, thank you, Scott, for the time, sharing the great experience of property management, making property management sexy. And thank you for all the guests and everyone listening, but please reach out to Scott and join us every Wednesday. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.